Remy, you know all this gear. We've got a bank of lights behind us as we wait for all the social media feeds to go live. Hello, everyone. My name is Max McGillivray from Beanstalk Global. We're about to go live with the fantastic Mark from AHDB and the fantastic Remy from Gen Z Talent. But we're just waiting for all the social media feeds to kick in. So, Remy, Mark, I've heard a rumor that you both can sing. Is that correct, Remy?
Not quite. I mean.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I heard Mark singing a few times back at Plumpton College, but that was a few years back. I don't know if he's still got it.
Okay, Mark. Can you sing?
No, unfortunately, it's not one of Mark's major talents.
Okay, well, you've both fallen into my trap because today's my birthday. So because you're both on, I need you both to sing to me. So are you ready for the sake of breaking the internet? After three, Remy, you start and we'll go for a C major. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday
to you.
Right, stop. All the social media feeds are gone. Thank you very much for those birthday greetings. We are live on Beanstalk Global with the AHDB Talking Leaders series. Before we go properly live with Remy, this is going to be, we're going to learn so much from Remy. In the pre-broadcast, it was fascinating, frightening, exciting to hear what Remy's going to talk to us about in the respect of social media and what we can learn. But Mark, over to you. Tell us about AHDB and the Talking Leaders series, please.
So yeah, thanks, Max. Talking Leaders. If you haven't come and dialed in before, what we're trying to do is bring some interesting individuals from outside of the industry into the industry and just learn from their experiences and how we could develop our farming businesses from some of their insights.
Excellent. And Remy, it's not like you know anything about agriculture, is it?
No, not too much. I did it at college with Mark being one of my lecturers, and I did it at uni. I've meandered a little bit, but I'm a farmer at heart.
Excellent. Just show off your college, because it is. I think it's one of the best looking, beautiful colleges in the whole of the UK. Just tell us about the college you went to, Remy.
So I went to Plumpton College, so in Sussex, beautiful location at the foot of the South Downs. Really, really enjoyed my time there, to be fair. I was there for 3 years on a sandwich course back in 2015 to 2018. But no, honestly, it was amazing. And anybody that's thinking about going there, 100% would recommend it, even if Mark isn't there anymore.
and you've travelled far, Remy, because true, you're broadcasting from Portugal, or is it somewhere slightly north? Where are you today, Remy?
Oh, just LA today. No, Brighton.
Brighton by the sea. So come on, let's do this properly. I just want to give everyone a proper introduction to Remy. We're live on LinkedIn, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Twitter. Have I missed one? And for the sake of the people, especially on the podcast, let's talk about Remy, because it's all about Remy today. So we know how important it is to be inspired by both big businesses and individuals, which is why we're excited to present the Talking Leaders, a monthly initiative from the fantastic team of the AHDB, which shares a series of inspirational speakers share their life experiences and deliver impactful stories to the AgriLeader community. In our February broadcast, we are delighted to be joined by Remy, founder and CEO of Gen Z Talent. And tell us, what's the title of your new business?
Farmmarketing.co.uk.
And we're discussing loosely the rising role of social media within UK agriculture. After gaining considerable experience working on arable dairy farms from the age of 13, Remy's initial career plan was to become an agri-business consultant. He saw the light. He studied at Plumpton College before graduating with a degree in ag from the University of Reading. The COVID-19 pandemic meant Remy's final year at university had to be completed from home. During this period, he observed the huge growth of social media platforms such as TikTok, and living with an influencer at the time, Remy decided to set up his own social media business. In 2021, Remy founded Gen Z Talent, an agency specializing in influencer and social media marketing, initially to provide a part-time income while completing his final year of university. The company has grown very quickly, and he has an extensive client list, including the likes of Starbucks, ASOS, Taco Bell, and HelloFresh. Remy's final year dissertation focused on farm diversification, and it was during this time that he began to see the potential for social media marketing within agriculture. In 2022, Remy took his love of social media marketing and applied it to another passion, the passion of farming, and founded 1, 2, 3
Farmmarketing.co.uk.
And this is an agency that focuses on taking farm diversification to a new audience through digital and social media marketing. So Remy, you are beyond fascinating, because you could have gone down that stock standard route of ag management, ag consultancy, but you've made this huge pivotal change. Any regrets?
Not at all. I mean, I think, for uni, for me at uni, I learned a lot. But one of the key things for me at uni was the contacts I made. Obviously, COVID really sort of threw a spanner in the works with my plans. And at the same time, it was responsible for like the growth of platforms like TikTok. And I thought, it's an opportunity which is just sort of too good to miss out on at the moment. And obviously from that as well, my sort of interest came about how can we use social media within agriculture to help sort of agriculture progress, and obviously something that we'll get onto a bit later.
Yeah, well done. There's a quote that Mark and I have used from a lovely, amazing South African fresh produce buyer who always states, "Never waste a crisis." And I'm not sure if that's politically correct, but you look at the situation that you're in, staggered final year at Reading. You got this intellectual horsepower. How can you refocus it, repurpose it to the benefit of the sector and a way that you go? And just out of curiosity, do you think our sector of agriculture is unsophisticated in terms of social media marketing in comparison to we mentioned the likes of Taco Bell and HelloFresh? Are we on par, or are we behind, or are we in front? Remy, what do you think?
Absolutely not. I mean, social media within agriculture has barely even sort of been touched to its full potential. Obviously, we've got sort of social media, and then we've got one sort of step further along from that, which is influencer marketing as well. So, I mean, these are the sorts of techniques that big brands have been using for a long time now, and they're using them for a reason. They're so cost effective. We can really reach millions of people for a fraction of the price of what you'd pay for any other form of advertising. So I think, it's here to stay. And, my mission is to sort of increase the number of farmers and increase how the industry, or change how the industry is using social media.
Yeah, Remy, well done. Mark, we've done, is it 3 broadcasts now with an eclectic bunch of YouTubers and influencers. And Mark, you and I have always been amazed that when we're going live with them, the amount of traffic that's coming through. Mark, what's your view of the influences that you and I've been associated with with the AHDB?
I think just the point that you made there about the traffic, and the point that everybody makes about the opportunity, that was the real. Okay, I'm a social media user, but it didn't quite really appreciate how wide and how far you could contact people, and people of the demographic that you're wanting to engage with in a really, really easy, cost-effective manner. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, and gents, just to summarize it, I think from my perspective, I was speaking to a contact last week who went to a meeting of a fairly large but niche, large trade group. And Remy, you won't believe this, or perhaps you will do. And afterwards, at this meeting, this individual just countered them as saying, "You got to do more with your social media." And the chairman phoned up this particular contact and said, "Well, what's the point of a website, and what's the point of social media?" And so this individual had to back all the way back and explain that the website is the shop window to what they're doing, and if they don't have a shop window, no one's going to come in the proverbial front door. And the individual sort of got that, but then didn't understand the benefits of social media, and said, "Well, aren't we giving all of our secrets away?" And Remy, this is, I think, the problem that you sort of slightly alluded to, that we're still very siloed in our thinking within agriculture, whilst we need to be more open and more collaborative. Because if you are open, more collaborative, more things happen. Remy, would you agree?
No, absolutely. I mean, like what you were saying there, the social media, the website being the shop window. I mean, social media is what can give you the reach to bring, potential customers, or even just people that are just genuinely sort of interested. But obviously, thinking business, like social media is essentially your fishing net, your fishing hook. You want to bring people in, and then your website is exactly what you're doing, how you can help those people effectively convert those people. So yeah, I mean, they go hand in hand, but I mean, there's a lot of people now that even have social media but not a website. because that's the sort of power of it.
Yeah. Okay. So just imagine we've got a farmer on board listening in, and there are 1,500 acres in the West Country, and they're asking Remy, why do I need a website? Why do I need social media? I've just got my grain companies that I sell my stuff to, and the milk goes off to whoever. Why do I need to engage in social media? Remy, what would you say to that, please?
I mean, I guess there's three sort of key uses for social media within agriculture, right? The first being for farmers who have diversified, if they're looking to promote their farm diversification. So, for example, if a farmer has a glamping site, they can use social media to promote their site. And then one step on from that, they can use influencers to create what we call user-generated content. And that will cost very little, if anything. But, you know, having an influencer posting that sort of video about your glamping site has the potential to sell out your entire season and obviously completely change your business. You know, glamping, for example, is like super popular on TikTok at the moment. We see a lot of success with user generated content. And even like me personally, last summer, I went and stayed in a shepherd's hut. And I'm not an influencer by any means, but I posted about my experience online. And as a result, we had a bunch of people that me and my girlfriend know actually go and book that glamping site themselves. So, you know, having your own social media essentially is the base, it's the foundation of bringing new people in. The second sort of way is with, well, influencers and social media promoting British agriculture as a whole. You know, within the sort of Gen Z and millennial demographic, there's like just pretty much everybody. I mean, it's like 84% of the UK population's on social media, and obviously within the millennial and Gen Z demographics, that's even higher. So, for example, in January, when AHDB runs the Veganuary Eat Balanced campaign, you know, this could be extended to social media and reach literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people for a fraction of the cost of what running like a TV ad or a print ad or anything like that could do. So, yeah, I mean, farmers as well. I mean, I know Mark mentioned to me previously that he's aware of a farmer who's vlogging, and he's just got a brand new Bateman sprayer, and YouTube is paying him to promote. YouTube is paying him to create content, and the money that he's making from that content, he's using to pay off his brand new Bateman sprayer. So there's so many different ways that social media can be used. It's just a case of getting started and being consistent, really.
Yeah. Okay. Can I give you a great example that I think Mark and I've discussed previously? There's a farm near us that was having a problem with dog walkers, and they just ended up shouting at the dog walkers, and the dog walkers ended up shouting back at the farmer. New farm manager came in, and he said, "I know what to do," and he created a fenced, lovely fenced area. It's about 3 acres, and it's got a special gate at the front. And with your smartphone, you pay, I think it's £5 to walk your dog around there, and all the proceeds go to the local school to their swimming pool. And from it being lots of animosity, everyone's happy, and the local school's winning, just because they've managed to create a positive from a negative. And now the whole village is very happy with the farm, and vice versa. So many different ways that it can be used, Remy, isn't it? But people, 100%. but farmers need to be curious, need to be positively curious to engage with it. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I think you're that looking at the problem or the challenge from a different perspective and being curious and just having a go. And that example that you said and we've discussed previously, what a way of flipping a problem into a solution and actually creating a real positive feel to that farming business within the community.
Yeah. So Remy, I've been talking to other clients this morning about shows. Within the UK, we have big shows. So Mark, help me with the dairy events, because I'm not familiar with them. But within the cereal community, we have the likes of Cereals and Groundswell and Llama. Do you think that we still need those shows, Remy? Do we still need some publications like Farmers Weekly, or is all of this are we seeing this seismic change where it's all going to move on over to social media and we're just going to be engaged with this rather than actually meeting people face to face? What do you think, Remy?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it's going to change overnight. I think these sorts of platforms, whether it be Farmers Weekly, the Llama newsletter, I think they'll start doing more and more sort of online bits. I mean, Farmers Weekly's had a website for years and years, and social media, to be honest, is just an extension of that.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you look to the future and you hear about the metaverse and AI and this and that, one day eventually it will probably go to that. But where farming is still a little bit behind in terms of how up to date it is with social media and technology. Farmers Weekly, your magazine's here to stay.
Yeah, I'm laughing because one of my friends has just reminded me to talk to Remy about the farming sim story. There's a big farmer near us, and his tractor is so sophisticated when he's ploughing that he virtually doesn't have to do anything apart from being sort of the gatekeeper on it. So he's ploughing, and then he's on a farming simulator on his iPad in the tractor ploughing. And it's like talk about art eating itself. So what we want to learn from you, Remy, especially is with your talent and experience running Gen Zs, what excites you in different industries that you can see being deployed into farming? What can we bring from over there on the basis that, let's just admit it, we're a bit unsophisticated in comparison to other sectors and social media? What can we learn from over here and bring it over to our sector that's going to be beneficial? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously having social media is the sort of fundamental of it. That's your base.
Oh, yeah,
that's more important than a website now. Not enough farmers or farming businesses or farm diversifications are even on social media. But what's happening in other sort of industries and where the industry is really going is towards influencer marketing and using user generated content. So, defining influencer marketing as, anyone with like a large social media following, basically. We need to think about how because I mean, the reason big brands are using them, the reason other industries are using them, is because they're very cost effective, they're very low risk, and agriculture just basically needs to think about how we can make use of that within agriculture. I mean, I personally don't think that the sort of governing organisations are doing enough to promote British agriculture to the general population. And I think that, when you see things like the popularity of, say, Clarkson's farm, love him or hate him, he's done a really good job at getting the British public interested in British agriculture. And I think, off the back of that, farmers and farming businesses, it's now the perfect opportunity for them to get involved with it. I mean, I talk about diversifications primarily because of obviously the loss of the basic payment scheme. A lot of farmers are being forced to diversify, and this is essentially a shortcut that the big brands have been using for years to essentially ensure success of your diversification. I think the biggest problem is, I think the way that the biggest problem is going to be sort of transitioned out is that as sort of the younger generations now begin to take over the sort of family farms, and social media is more of a natural instinct to them than maybe sort of older generations. These younger generations will see the sort of benefit in having social media. But yeah.
It's well done. Mark, I'm not sure if I can say this, but someone says WhatsApp saying that Clarkson's farm has done more good for agriculture than 20 years of country file. But also I think it's beneficial for farmers to jump on that appreciation. Smacked me over the back of the head, but I think I was reading the Daily Mail yesterday, and it was stated about how good Clarkson's Farms is, because it's just showing how tough it is in farming, not only the physicality of it, but also the margin pressure. And so for consumers to understand that it's actually really tough on a farming perspective, whether it be the margin side, whether it be the growing side, or whether it be interacting with them with Joe Public, it's beneficial all round. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, the whole Clarkson farm thing is a really, really interesting topic. And from my personal perspective, I completely agree with you. It's that realness. And that's, I suppose, we link that with social media. It's that real, live, genuine kind of content. If I'm honest, some of the things in Clarkson's farm, some of the health and safety elements, should they really be posting some of those things? If Jeremy stood in a bucket doing things, that's a whole nother debate. But it's that real organic content that shows what it's truly like on a farm.
Yeah, and also, guys, the very interesting thing about Clarkson's Farms is it's shown on terrestrial TV. Is it on BBC, ITV? No, it's on Amazon. Everyone I talk to, I don't watch TV anymore. I'm watching everything online. So again, Remy, it goes back to what you were saying, that these bigger companies have realised some time ago that the new solution is on social media, and likewise, we've got to realise that if we're giving out information, we don't have to get all excited about a BBC film crew turning up to do a 33-second slot on our farm, when actually we could do a lot more, reach a lot more people, Remy, with our own outputs.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think, you know, there's a few people that do other things online, sort of similar to what Clarkson's done. So whether it be Tom Pemberton, I mean, he's got over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. There's Farmer Will, who's on Love Island at the moment. He's got over 1.5 million followers on TikTok. You know, and these people are, you know, that's a lot of people, 1.5 million and 500,000. It shows that people do care about, you know, the general public does care. That's not 1.5 million farmers. That's not 500,000 farmers. You know, the population, the general population does care about British agriculture. And I think, you know, there's a whole thing now about conscious consumerism, and people are interested in where their food comes from. And farmers have this whole, you know, behind the scenes access of exactly how things are going, exactly how things work, you know, exactly what's going on. And people want to see that. You know, there just isn't enough people that are showing it. And I think, you know, in terms of reinforcing not only your own personal farming business or farm diversification, but British agriculture as a whole, you know, the problem is that there's a lot of, you know, newer sort of, let's say, vegan brands, you know, plant-based brands. And I mean, they're coming in here with sort of, I mean, there's one vegan bacon brand that launched recently, and they had an £8 million budget just to launch the product in the UK. And, you know, obviously British agriculture doesn't have that sort of budget just to throw around like there's no tomorrow on each campaign. And that's why using something cost effective like social media is essentially the answer. I mean, when you account for like veganism, it's such actually like a small percent of the population that they have such a big voice, and they have such a big voice because of social media. So, you know, farmers can probably, you know, tell their side of the story, as it were, by posting on social media. And, you know, it doesn't cost anything.
Guys, do you follow the Hoof GP? So it's
I don't personally.
So everyone, if you look at the Hoof GP, so he does these really interesting videos. He's got a GoPro and he goes around dairy farms, cattle farms up in Scotland, and he puts cattle in a crush, and it's all professionally done. And he trims cattle's feet. It's as simple as that. He's got 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube. The reason I mentioned him, a client of mine bumped into him in a pub up near Aberdeenshire, and he was just bemoaning the fact he'd come back from America, and word got out that he was in America, and he couldn't leave the hotel he was in for 2 days because he's been mobbed by his American audience because they wanted to get all the merch that they bought from the Hoof GP signed off. So again, it just shows the power of an internet in a strange twist. But Remy, just go back to this point about the companies that are, say, 5 years in advance on us social media wise, and you mentioned that great example of the plant-based company. Are there any key points that we can learn from you, that you've learned from them, that we could deploy here? Oh, yes, we need to have our social media site set up. So just let's assume that our people dialed in have got those set up. What can they learn from you as to how they can boss those, get the most out of them, whether it be for farm diversification or just to keep the positive PR of their farm, of their unit going? What things can we, I don't know, can we plagiarize? Can we steal from those sectors that you know into our sectors, please?
Yeah, I mean, obviously every sort of campaign's different, and ultimately it will, you know, the end goal will be what you got to start with, and then you've got to work your way back. But I mean, in terms of farmers sort of getting started on social media, my advice would be, you know, think about what you're trying to achieve, choose your niche, whether it be like you're trying to promote your farm shop, your shepherd's huts. Is it that you just want to promote that your beef's 100% grass fed? And it literally is as easy as creating an account, TikTok's probably the easiest one to grow on at the moment. And then like just posting behind the scenes sort of content of what the public wouldn't normally get to see. As long as you're posting consistently, you will grow. So that's the sort of secret that these brands are doing. I mean, a lot of the time, these brands don't really know what they're doing. They're just sort of pumping money into something which they think looks good, and hoping for the best. At the same time, obviously, a lot of brands do know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But you don't need a massive budget, especially with social media. You know, social media costs nothing for you to do personally. And even with, say, influencers or user-generated content, you know, inviting them down to your farm shop or to your shepherd's hut, you know, it doesn't, you know, some might ask for payment. It literally will be like a couple £100. But, you know, if you're sort of becoming reliant on your farm diversification to remain profitable and to increase the resilience of your farm business, you know, these influencers could literally change your life. Yeah. You could find that you've got 2 shepherd's huts and they're fully booked because of one video for the entire year. And next thing you know, you've got 20 shepherd's huts and, you know, a multi-million-pound business out the end of it. Yeah. You know, if something goes viral, at the minute, it goes super viral. And that's why you've got to take advantage of sort of TikTok. And even now, I think what's interesting is that YouTube is sort of trying to get back some of the market share from TikTok. So YouTube are paying like really generously a 45% revenue split back to the creators. So yeah, I think there's no real better time than now. And you know, the farmers that get on it first will be the ones that ultimately come out on top, like anything really. But it's continuously developing.
And Remy, you're spot on. It always tickles me, Mark. I don't know if you have the same, that when we do work with Ollie blogs, and I'm turning up there and I've got like 10 grand of filming kit and all this jeopardy that we always have, stick it all together. And he's got a knackered old iPhone. And he does a video once a day for 1,000 days, and he's getting, help me Mark, anywhere between 50,000 views in a couple of days on his videos. And he's just doing it on an old iPhone. And he's where he's very good, and he enjoys it. I think he enjoys thinking it through. Right, what am I going to do today? Right, I'm going to promote this this muck spreader, and he'll bring a little bit of jeopardy into it and bring some characters into it, and then he'll sit at his kitchen table at an evening or at lunchtime and just splice it together with a little app that he's got. So it costs him nothing, but then he's generating an income from it, which is great because it's his own farm diversification. So what am I trying to say, Mark? It's not difficult, but you just got to start it. And as Remy says, you've got to be consistent. You've got to keep going.
No, definitely, and that's quite interesting that we've had a question come in from Emma, asking about the return on investment other than engagement, particularly because some of the products that we're producing. In the world of agriculture, some of the content can be quite sensitive, so it's a little bit difficult. And how do you balance that cost of time to develop the content against the other business activities that generally most farms are mixed? What's Remy's thoughts on that? I'm thinking about Ollie and the comment you there. He's with his old knackered phone, but I'd love to know how many days he charges his phone, because he's continuously developing, filming and creating content for his daily video.
Yeah, I mean, I guess your return on investment sort of depends on what you're trying to achieve. I mean, obviously context would be helpful, but you know, just in terms of general sort of vlogging, obviously some things can be a bit sensitive. Some people are sort of unaware or uneducated on certain processes and can feel strongly about sort of wrong thing. But I mean, generally, social media, the time that you're spending can be time that you're also doing other things. So I mean, a lot of people wear GoPros. So I know you said about the iPhone and social media. Sorry, that's a fly. Social media is like all about authenticity and relatability now. So you don't really need to spend much at all in terms of the equipment. But you know, if sort of your time pressured, then there are people that wear sort of GoPros and stuff, and then sort of can cut that down in the evening or whatever. But I mean, in terms of actual spend, for example, with influencer marketing, for example, if you were to use influencers, the average in the industry is for every £1 you spend, you get £5 back. That's the sort of industry standard. But in terms of actually reality, we've run campaigns for brands, and we've had like return on ad spend of 9,000%. So it's very lucrative. So I mean, it depends if you mean like return on investment in terms of your time or your money.
Yeah. But I suppose it's come back to this thing again, Remy, that this is still the world of the unknown. Can you imagine a dairy farmer in Somerset thinking, I've got to sign up an influencer and it's going to cost me £1,000 and I might get £10,000 back and I might not, but I've got no control over the video. But again, it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's just about being curious, about being collaborative, and also, Remy, enjoying it. And the people that Mark and I meet, they get so much enjoyment out of running those videos and the positive comments that they get in. Mark, would you agree?
Oh no, hugely. And I think with the work that we're doing with some of the really good guys in the industry, it is they do genuinely love recording and sharing their story, which I think, thinking about some of the points that you've made about developing a following, developing a bigger customer base from a diversification point of view, the other end of the spectrum, having that social media following, one of the big challenges in the industry across all of the land-based industries or any industry is labour and marketing. Having that presence, having that thing is probably a way of actually selling your farm and your business to say, actually come and work for me. This is what we do on a day-to-day basis. This is how we look after our crops for animals, which again is a real positive thing to be doing.
Yeah. Well, can I just interject with my day head on for Red Fox? We come across so many examples of graduates who are looking to join a farm or a farming business, and if that business doesn't have any social media presence, they won't join. Because they want to find out about it. Whilst if there's another business that's got a really good social media profile, and they can see the people there, and they can see that they're happy, and they can see the general look and feel of the business, it's going to be more attractive for them to reach out and make contact with them and look to work with them, rather than a business that's got nothing. We do a lot of work on LinkedIn, Remy, and there's a view that if you don't have a LinkedIn profile shot, picture, that you're trying to hide something. So again, you need to be, I suppose it might be difficult for some people, but you need to be open, haven't you? But then it comes back to that point that Emma was making earlier, that with some of the broadcasting that Mark and I've done with the team there, the YouTubers, they sometimes find it difficult to how they portray farming. Bad things happen in farming, especially livestock. Things die, especially sheep, from what I remember of them. And what do you do? Are you meant to present this sort of glowy side that everything's like a Disney movie, or do you show some of the bad stuff that does happen? And they're very good in that they want to get over the fact that the sector is hard and you have lots of ups and downs, and so they do show that, but not to the extent of anything macabre. But they do look to say that this ewe unfortunately had triplets, but 2 of them didn't make it, and they explain. So they've now understood that context. So Remy, how do people learn? Do you think the best way is just to watch other people and to learn from them, or should people be going on specific online learning courses, or should they just go for it and see where it goes?
Yeah, I mean, it's different. It's different for everybody. The algorithms on these platforms, like, they're all different. Everyone has a completely unique experience on them. But I definitely recommend going and watching sort of what's out there, whether it be Tom Pemberton, Farmer Will, the Hoof Man. Sorry, I can't remember his name. And you know, there's loads of different ones. I mean, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but there's a dairy farmer in Somerset that's got a massive following now, and he's just sort of walking around with a GoPro strapped to him. So yeah, definitely have a look at what's out there. Obviously, you know, if you're a farm shop, do a bit of a competitor analysis. Have a look at what other farm shops might be doing. If you're a glamping site, have a look at what other glamping sites are doing. If you've got fishing lakes, you know, have a look at what other people are doing. Or if you're just a sort of general farmer and you think, okay, I want to see if I can earn an income out of this. And you know, there's so many opportunities that can come out of it as well, which you'd never even expect. Yeah, just have a look at what other people are doing. Start posting. It doesn't matter what really you're posting, just start posting and post. It doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be 10 times a day. But if you're posting once a week, keep posting once a week. If you're posting every day, keep posting every day. The one thing that the algorithms don't like is when you change the frequency of posting.
Oh, right. Okay.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
That's really interesting. So we are doing something right with the AgriLeader Facebook group that we post 3 times a week every week, and roughly at the same time. We've had a couple more questions coming in to build on those points. This one question, don't know who it's coming from, but it's like, Remy, with your agricultural hat on, have you seen any countries around the world that are using social media more effectively on farms than potentially we are in the UK?
I think it's a bit of a sort of lag across the board, to be honest. I mean, there are some US farmers which are on socials. Other countries, the social media content they create doesn't sort of tend to come across to, like, non-English speaking countries. Their content doesn't tend to come across to the sort of social media feed of UK consumers, as it were. I think, you know, it is a general sort of issue. I know that Germany is quite hot on it. But yeah, I think, you know, just across the board, I think farmers have always sort of thought, well, how does this benefit me? And understandably. And that's why, you know, especially with farm diversification, and especially as a result of the problems caused by leaving the EU, this is where I personally believe social media can really bridge the gap and fill a hole with the problems that we got.
Remy, can I just throw a sideways one at you? Max, we are part of a big marketing company in the grass seed sector within agriculture. Love what Remy and Mark are saying. We want to do more on social media, but our bosses won't allow us because of the international brand guidelines of the corporate structure, which to us is all rubbish. We want to be authentic. How can we be authentic? How can we persuade our upper management to let us free? Let us be free.
Yeah, this is a problem which we get all the time. We'll sort of have like a 21-year-old social media manager, and they're sort of arguing with their like 60+ marketing manager, and you know he's having to ask his 14-year-old daughter what this means, you know, and what that means. It's a problem which we see all the time. I guess if you look at case studies, I mean, if you were to look at not necessarily agriculturally specific brands, but there's Duolingo on TikTok, or there's Ryanair on TikTok. You know, these are not accounts which you'd think anyone would really care about. But if you look at their social media, they're jumping on trends. Yeah. They're really funny. They're really authentic, and they're not trying to force anything down the throat of the people that are watching it. And that's the thing with social media, because it's all moving towards video content. It's got to be entertaining first, and it's got to be, you know, you've got to imagine your sort of marketing funnel with awareness being at the top, and you've got to make your content educational but entertaining. So you've got to slip that educational aspect into the entertainment aspect of the funnel, and then obviously, you know, from that, then you have the people that are actually going to come click through to your account, see what else you've got on, then the people that are going to follow you, then the people that are going to come to your website, and then the people that are going to convert, right? So yeah, I mean, look at the case studies, look at what some of the top brands on TikTok are doing, and say, like, look, if we're doing this is the potential that we've got here. But it's I feel their pain, because I have to argue with CMOs every day about 62 euros. It's okay
but good example of that from the agriculture world would be the Colin the Caterpillar Cuthbert the Caterpillar Aldi campaign that they stuck out on social, which was all about how Colin had been kidnapped and his great cousin in Aldi, which is a complete spin-off in all, and they sold out of them.
Yeah. Okay, so just go back to Dorothy. That's not her name. So what do you think, Remy? If she got a number of examples of not dissimilar businesses and how successful they've been on the likes of TikTok and other platforms, and show that to her young 62-year-old senior manager, and just say, look at the success that these guys are. Why don't we have a trial? And I will monitor it, and you'll see it, and sort of just hold their hand so they're not feeling threatened by it. Do you think that would be the way to go, Remy?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no harm in trying. I know a lot of brands are very, very sort of sensitive about their brand tone of voice and stuff like that. I've just remembered seeing a really good example, what's the brand? And they make cattle crushers and hurdles. The big one.
Over to Mark.
IAE.
Yes, I'm 99% sure it's them on TikTok. They jumped on some TikTok trends, and I mean, this video was just of their cattle crush. It showed it from like various different angles with like the music timed to it. it was on like hundreds of thousands of views. So it just goes to show, like, you know, the power. If you jump on trends, that's the most important thing on like TikTok, is sort of trends. And if you look at Farmer Will, and you look at other farmers on TikTok, you know, a lot of them are doing that and incorporating their daily life into that sort of thing. But I mean, you know, I'd be really interested to know how many sales came as a result of that video for IAE.
Yeah, this the bit that grates my gears, Remy, is it's always the larger companies, and it's probably these ones that have got the corporate guidelines, and the stuff that they push out is so corporate. And they just lose it. People want to buy from people, and yes, if there's a big company behind it, that's great, because that offers financial security and depots all around the world. But people want to buy from people. So I wish they would let go a little bit, and that 62-year-old would just let the marketing team, whichever regional team it is, just shine. And I know you've got to be so careful with the messaging that you put out, but yeah, they just seem to be so constrained. And again, I don't know what the answer to that is, Remy.
Yeah, I mean, the way that marketing works, I think, has really changed. You need 7 touch points on average with somebody before you can sell to them, right?
Well done.
But social media is such a good way to hit that person multiple times. You know, if you were to, you know, have a TV ad, or you were to put something in print, you know, say in Farmers Weekly, they're not going to necessarily, I mean, Farmers Weekly would be probably, you know, a much better option because it's targeted than like a TV ad. But, you know, you need to be hitting those people again and again, and having an interesting social media account where they're going to follow you and follow your journey is such a good way to keep retargeting those people. Yeah,
especially if they subscribe to you. So whether it be TikTok or whatever, you've got that lovely positive captured audience, haven't you? Whilst in the Farmers Weekly, if you're Farmers Weekly is great, but if you're running a quarter-page advert at lots of money, as soon as it's read and put down, that's it. Especially chip paper, it's going to the bottom of the dog bed, isn't it? Whilst that on your TikTok thing, it's going to constantly come up and up on their feed because of the algorithms and because of the subscription element.
Exactly. Yeah, and then from that, obviously, as well, you can have like a link that you put into your bio, where people can sign up to your email newsletter. People can visit your website straight from there. You know, it's like going back to what I was saying earlier about it's essentially like the fishing net. You know, you've got to bring them in, and then once they're on, you know, that's how you push them down the funnel, essentially.
Yeah. And another question then, data. Max, talk about data. So there's we talked about it in our green room before we went live, that there's a big concern within UK farmers about data, that it's their data and they don't want to let it go. With social media, if I'm a farmer and I'm taking all this positivity from yourself and Mark and engaging with social media, have I got a problem with my data?
Look, all of these platforms are formed on data. All of these platforms know a certain amount about you, just like anything does. Anytime you go on your phone, it knows something about you. And, you know, you've got to just think about how this data is actually used to your advantage. And likewise, you know, the majority of data, whether it be cookies when you visit a website, you know, when you have to click accept or decline, you know, all of this stuff is, I mean, majority of that stuff is for the sake of advertising. So if you sort of turn the table and think, well, actually, how can I then use this to my advantage? Suddenly you hate data a lot less.
Yes, well done. Okay, so what are we saying? If it actually provides an income for you, embrace the data, use the data. Information is power. You use it. Do not be afraid of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, there's obviously data comes in a bunch of different forms. So, for example, we use data to look at influencers and we look at how their accounts are doing. And then from that data, we can see what's working well, what isn't working well, and then how we can improve and carry on growing their accounts. So, I mean, you know, I don't think by any means people should be, obviously there's going to always be sort of some sensitive information, which you might not want to shout about from the rooftops, but, you know, data isn't anything to be overly precious about a lot of the time or overly scared of a lot of the time. You know, data is there to be looked at and to help you, really.
Yeah, and I think for Is anyone really going to be interested on a global perspective as to what the price of wheat is that we sold the barn of wheat for? It's not like it's a military state secrets, is it? And also that whole point about in the UK we have the most number of CCTV cameras anywhere in the world. One of my kids worked out that our 5-mile journey to Tesco and back were captured on I think it was 33 different CCTV cameras. So if you're going to be that concerned about it, you just stay at home, wouldn't you? And you wouldn't have anything plugged in. But Remy, as you so eloquently said, if you can actually get your head around it, that you could use this data to your benefit to generate another income. It's amazing farm diversification, isn't it? As you said about your glamping site, or whether it be your farm shop or something else that you're doing, it could be very, very beneficial for you. So Remy, come on, let's throw the proverbial crystal ball out. 5 years time, UK agriculture, where do you, from your perspective of having a foot in ag and a foot in the other world of other sectors, where do you see UK agriculture 5 years time, and also where's social media going to be, and how can that be advantageous to our sectors?
Sure. I mean, I think as younger generations take over, and more farmers are going to be forced to diversify their businesses to remain profitable. We'll definitely see, a massive increase in the number of farmers using social media. I think the key thing is that it should be seen as a tool to market your business and reach an audience that simply wouldn't know about you otherwise. And likewise as well, I think more farmers will start vlogging what they do, because, I genuinely do think that the general public are genuinely interested in knowing where their food comes from. I just don't think there's enough people telling them. I think that's the sort of long-term outlook. I think more and more farmers will definitely get involved with it. More and more agricultural businesses will be getting on social media. And I think the industry, well, not the industry, but I think social media as a whole as well, it is expanding at a hell of a rate. More and more people are on social media, and for the younger generations as well, it's almost like Sixth Sense. It's they're born and they know how to use social media. There's 2-year-olds walking around with iPads watching TikTok and stuff. So it's going to become more and more important. The way that social media is used will probably change when things like the metaverse come. Obviously augmented reality is probably something which will be used before full sort of metaverse comes into effect. But yeah, I mean, it's here to stay. It's a cost-effective option. It will not make sense for farmers to not be more involved with it.
Yeah, well done, well said. And AI, talk to us about AI. We were mentioning in the green room about, I forgot what, chat, help me?
Chat GPT.
So just explain to people what that is, and AI, and where we are with AI and where that's going, and how this is a big disruptor.
Yeah, so Chat GPT is essentially the biggest advancement of like consumer artificial intelligence ever. So within a week or two, it had millions and millions of users. So it was actually the fastest ever adopted consumer app. Faster than TikTok, faster than Instagram, faster than Facebook, faster than anything ever. And I personally believe that the internet is right the way down here, and AI is sort of a reinvention of the internet on steroids. So it will be used in people's general sort of lives. And what Chat GPT is essentially like Google search in a way. You sort of type whatever you want to know, and it will come back and just talk back at you, but with like really, really descriptive answers. And it can be used for a bunch of different things. I can say to it, I'm trying to lose 5 kilos over the next 2 months. Write me a health plan that's going to help me lose weight. And I really like Chinese food, so incorporate those sorts of flavors, and it will just do it for you. It will become your sort of life assistant. So a lot of other programs are now being made off of the back of GPT, which is the sort of underlying brain behind Chat GPT. Obviously there's other uses for it, but in terms of, well that's sort of the consumer everyday sort of use of it. Obviously AI as well will have a lot of different uses specifically within agriculture. So if you take like the small robot company, what they're doing is really, really impressive. They've got a robot which will essentially go along your field, scan every single individual plant, and then using AI, it will essentially put a hit marker on all the weeds. And then that will talk to another robot which comes along behind it, and it zaps all of those weeds. So using AI, and I mean, I think AI gets thrown around a bit too much. I believe there's a difference between AI and machine learning.
Yeah.
So machine learning, in the context of the robots is, a weed can look like so many different things, right? And each individual weed, even if it's, the same species of weed, could look completely different. So machine learning is just that learning that that's still the same weed, even though it looks different. Similarly to if you ever have to click that box that says I'm not a robot or I'm a human, online, and then you'll have to click all the pictures of the traffic lights or all the pictures of taxis or whatever. What you're doing there is you're training self-driving cars. So what they've done there has been really clever, because they've got everyday people to, develop their technology for them. But there'll be so many use cases of how AI is developed in other industries and then incorporated into agriculture, whether it be, robotics, whether it be self-driving tractors, whatever it is, it's here to stay. And you shouldn't be afraid of it. It's not going to steal anybody's jobs overnight. And even if it sort of did get to the level where it outsmarted humans, which, it is on the way, there will always need to be a human to ask it the right question to get the right answer. You've got to be very specific, and you've got to know what you're talking about to get the answer out of these things at the minute. So,
well, that's a great summary, Remy. So it feels like it's evolution, not revolution, and we all have to keep evolving. Otherwise, we'll be dead like the dinosaurs. So we must embrace this and not be frightened of it, because it might be beneficial to us ongoing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, when you take like the small robot company as an example, they're going to eradicate the need for pesticides from their robot. And what they're doing is they're doing what they call farming as a service. So, there's going to be a point where, all food, all crops essentially can be organic, because obviously, whether you think it's a bit of a marketing ploy or not, there's big consumer demand for it. And that technology is only going to reduce your costs ultimately, and then increase your margins. So yeah, it definitely should be embraced. It's it can seem very intimidating. It can seem very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it can seem a bit evil at first thought, but there's a lot of good use cases for it.
And again, we talked about it in the green room earlier. There's a lot of wholesale redundancies being made in the global social media space, and in the likes of America, people who've been let go by the likes of Facebook and Twitter. Who are they all getting jobs with? They're getting jobs with the big ag companies, the likes of John Deere and Caterpillar. So that's going to be beneficial to the sectors, Remy, Mark, isn't it? Because if they're coming into the sectors with their intellectual firepower and helping those manufacturers, that's going to very quickly come over to this side. So it's going to be beneficial to the sectors, everything that's been learned, and this positive onset of AI. That's going to be an amazing example, Remy, isn't it? If we're going to get to that point where the likes of pesticides aren't required, because it's been done on a manual basis with lots of small tractors running around. Mark, are you excited about this?
Oh, massively. It is, and sourcing those expertise and those things is only going to be a benefit to the industry as we push it all forward. But yeah, God knows where we're going to be in the next 5 years in terms of the stuff that we're doing.
Yeah, and Remy, we've got to remember the title of this broadcast that the chaps at the AHDB has set up, Talking Leaders. A lot of this is a lot of people dialed into these broadcasts. They run teams. It could be a significant team or a small team. With them using social media, how can we make those individuals better leaders by that deployment of social media? How can we make better leaders from this? From your advice, please, Remy.
Sure. I mean, I think obviously leadership can take many different forms, but I think having social media. I know I keep banging on about it, but being a leader and being one of the first to jump onto it will obviously make those sorts of people a lot more influential. And then from that, there's a million things that can come. If you're seen as a sort of industry leader, so many opportunities come as a result of that. And being a leader is about being the first one that's not necessarily afraid to make that jump of doing it. You might, all your morals and everything, you might think that TikTok's just a dancing app full of teenage girls and this and that, but it's so much more than that. And I think you've got to take that jump, and that will in turn increase your personal influence, and therefore your power, as it were, as a leader.
Remy, well done. And just on a binary basis, I find that there's a lot of people in agriculture, perhaps of a more mature age, use Twitter, like and enjoy Twitter. In some of the sectors that we deal with within likes of fresh produce and FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods, people use LinkedIn. And then the younger generation tend to use the likes of TikTok. What would be your starter hack for farmers who are thinking about using social media? Because they've got this plethora of platforms that they can use, and it's quite time consuming and onerous to load up multiple things on multiple platforms. If people were starting out or looking to refocus their social media, what would be your recommendation? What sort of platforms would you encourage them to use?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, with sort of older demographics, we see a lot of, we see like Twitter, LinkedIn, being really, and Facebook being really popular in particular, but all of these platforms now are pushing video content. So when TikTok launched, they all saw the success of it and they all decided they were going to copy it. So my advice would be definitely create video content, because that's what's engaging people. That's what the platforms are going to the platforms are going to do the work for you, and essentially. But people shouldn't see it as a chore. As soon as you see it as a chore, it becomes one. But you can repost the same content across multiple platforms, and likewise, if you're consistent with how you post, you will grow. We at farmmarketing.co.uk also have a dedicated team that help farmers with digital and social media marketing.
Well
so we can offer any advice to farmers who might be short on time on how to get started, or likewise we can do everything for you. So if you are interested in that, please feel free to contact me at hello@farmmarketing.co.uk as well.
Excellent. Remy, do you think that if farmers do adopt social media, they will have a better business on the back of it? Yeah,
absolutely. Although farmers might not sort of see an instant return, and it can take a bit of time to grow. Especially for the purpose of marketing diversifications. There is no better way, and this is why all the top brands are doing it. The top brands are doing it, and they're pumping millions into it. But you don't need to have millions. You literally just need like £100, £200 to get results that would cost you £10,000 on other platforms. So in terms of the value for money, the reason why they pump so much into it is because of the return on investment. So for diversifications, I strongly believe that every diversification should be on social media.
Well done. So we can learn from those bigger companies. They ain't stupid. They've got huge marketing teams, huge finances to be able to investigate the sector. So we can learn from that, and some of the figures that you mentioned earlier on the basis of return of investments are significant. So it's for the sake of £100 to get it set up correctly, it's worth a punt. And if it works, carry on. And hence my very, very direct question to you, Remy: will we have better businesses on the back of it? And I think you answered that very, very eloquently. Mark, do you agree? Will we have better businesses for everyone associated with yourself, the AHDB, if they engage with social media and engage with social media even more?
I think it's a very broad question, but I think yes, we've got to change. Change needs to be constant in life, and we need to evolve in how we're connecting and sharing our messages with consumers and our customers. So yes, very broadly.
And guys, we're nearly out of time. Mark, do you want to just summarize? I think these Talking Leaders series that we do are so enlightening, and have someone like Remy coming on with really fresh eyes and seen the whole potential of this, and some of us kicking and screaming as to we don't want to change, but actually we've got to change, otherwise we will be the dinosaurs of the world. So I think it's hugely beneficial having the likes of Remy on. But Mark, over to you, please.
Yeah, no, thank you. And we probably could have gone on for another half an hour. There's so much information there that Remy shared with us. But just, we've had a couple of questions. Would Remy please share with us? Elsie's come in. Say hello, Elsie.
Half term, everyone. Half term.
Daddy, are you sharing?
Well, apologies. I think yeah,
brilliant.
Would Remy possibly share a few examples of some really good posts that could get someone started? Which would be really, really good, and also how to contact an influencer and that starting point, which I'm sure you'll be willing to talk anyone through that if we share contact details. But I think some of the stuff that we chatted about, that whole 84% of the UK population are on social media, so we need to engage with this stuff because people are using it to be able to push things forward. Thinking about return on investments, 1 to 5 or up to 1 to wherever they may be, there is a return, and you don't need to invest massive amounts into your platforms. You just need to start generating some content that relates to your business and do it on a regular basis in a consistent manner. Don't just suddenly think that putting one post in is gonna boom it off. The point about leadership, if we think about leadership and management as a general, one of the key things of leadership and management is connection and relationships. This is just connection and relationships in the modern world.
Yeah, well done.
And how I look at my son who's 14, he doesn't watch terrestrial TV. His social media and the electronic way of contacting his friends, he's still engaging with his friends, but it's just in a different medium that I did. So I went down and kicked a football with my mates. But I suppose the one little take home and the one little sentence that I've written down, which probably thing that you said, Remy, is think of social media as a tool, not a toy.
Well done.
So yeah, really, really good. I'd love to delve a bit further into this conversation as we move forward. We had a comment from Fiona about could AHDB do a little bit more on this. I'll ask the question. We're in the stages now of forming activity plans off of the sector council findings and the direction we're going. I'm sure there's ways and means that we can offer some digital sessions to help farmers better increase their social media presence.
Excellent. Remy, anything to say to our esteemed audience, just to positively wrap up, please?
Yeah, I mean, I understand why a lot of people wouldn't understand how it will benefit their farming business, but it's just where the world's at now. You take any Gen Z, you take any millennial, it's all about social media. And I think the worst thing to do is try and shy away from it. I think, you've just got to go in there, have the attitude, whatever happens. Don't make it any harder than it needs to be, and you'll be fine.
Boom. There we go. And guys, just to wrap up, you very kindly sang me happy birthday at the start of the broadcast. I've had a dozen requests to know how old I am. So Remy, Mark, you got to guess my age, and we'll go for the average between the two of you. Remy, how old am I?
21.
Oh, this is working well. Mark.
He's a little bit, you're flattering him. He can't be a shade over 40, but I reckon he's 55.
Thank you. Right. Okay. So we're going to wrap up on that basis, guys. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Brilliant to have you on, Remy. Mark, we look forward to seeing your chairperson in person again. We love the fantastic little interruption there. Remy, you're brilliant. We'll tag you everywhere, and it'd be great to get you on some of the AHDB future things, whether that be online or face to face. Remy, you're brilliant. Well done. Thank you, everyone.
So much.
Have a good day all.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah.